and welcome to the Bartley Broadcast, episode number 7, brought to you by Apocalypse Movies. I am Jacob Bartley, of course, your host, and this is my show where I talk about everything going on in the world of entertainment that I love. Mostly movies, but I talk about a little bit of TV and a little bit of other things going on in my life. How are you all doing? I'm doing pretty well, staying busy, but of course making time for shooting reviews, podcasts, stuff like that. I just shot my reviews for The Foreigner and Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. I will talk about those briefly in a minute here. But just a great week, kicking off my weekend. Today is Friday. You might get this show sometime this weekend. But yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend. I have Friday, Saturdays off, so it's really nice for me to sit down and shoot. So I'm in Northern California, right? In Sacramento. And there's a lot of Oakland Raider fans. There's a lot of 49er fans. Right now, the Oakland Raiders are the better team. The Niners are 0-6. That speaks for itself. But I was at the bar last night with a couple of my buddies are Raider fans. I was at the bar last night, and that game, the Chiefs and Raiders game, that was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had being at a bar, because how intense, how important that game was, and the Raiders won the game on a game-winning drive with a game-winning touchdown and then the extra point. And the thing that made it so intense was all these people around you like going crazy, and also how they literally threw 3 almost touchdown passes, and there just kept being foul calls, and they didn't cross the line, and it was crazy. So much fun. I'm not a Raider fan, but that was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had, like being out at a bar watching a game. It was amazing. But yeah, hopefully my 49ers can get better next year. We'll see. How about a 1 win? All right, so let's move on to our first segment where I talk about the things I've been watching lately. I have a couple movies to talk about, and then I have a TV show that I just finished on Netflix. So first up, I mentioned The Foreigner. I put my spoilers review up on Apocalypse Movies. You can check that out. But I'll give my brief thoughts on here. I thought it was a really good, entertaining, fun movie. And fun, I mean, there's a lot of bad shit happening in it, but I mean fun as in entertaining. Jackie Chan, love Jackie Chan, love Pierce Brosnan. I did give one of my negatives was that, and it ended up making the movie better, but like the marketing, made it seem like this movie was all about Jackie Chan, and it's not. He's just a part of the film. So go in expecting to have a good time, but temper your expectations as far as having a full feature of Jackie Chan. Like, he's in it a lot, and he's very good in it, but he's not the main focal point of the movie. It's more about the bigger picture going on. But go check out my spoilers review if you want to learn more about that. The next film I saw earlier this week, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. This movie is one of the best movies of the year. It's incredible. I wouldn't put it in my top 5 favorite movies of the year. And you got to understand the difference between favorites and the difference between best. There's a difference because I have the Wonder Woman movie in my top 5 movies of the year, the regular Wonder Woman movie. But I wouldn't say it's one of the top 5 best movies of the year. There's a difference. But Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman is one of the top 3 best movies of 2017, in my opinion. It's amazing. Go watch my spoilers review. I talk about why it's amazing specifically, but and you can know this from watching the trailers. It's not all about the creation of Wonder Woman. That's a big part of it, but it's more about Professor Marston and his relationship with his wife and their third lover. It's incredible. Go check out my spoilers review. I highly recommend that movie. As soon as you get a chance to go watch Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman, go watch it. You will not be disappointed, at least from my point of view. All right, so I mentioned a TV show on Netflix. Now, this is going to be a little hard to talk about. I mean, I guess not. I don't have to go into detail, but if you've heard of this animated show on Netflix called Big Mouth, it's... All right, kids, don't go watch the trailer, but if you're an adult, you're 18 and up, go watch the trailer if you have not heard of it. Big Mouth on Netflix. It is one of the most craziest things I've ever seen in my life. It's about there's 4 main characters, maybe 5, and they're all young. They're all in middle school. I think they're like 10, 11 or 12, 13, and they're all going through puberty, right? And it does not hold back at all. there's these hormone monsters, which, they take a physical appearance. They have a physical body in the show, and like they can talk, and they're talking in your ear, and it's kind of like it represents like our hormones when we're going through puberty. And there are hilarious elements of the show. I do think at certain moments it goes a little bit too far, and I love raunchy shit. I say go as far as possible, but even for me, there's some stuff where it goes way too far. However, I started watching the show, and I was like, yeah, it's a great premise, and it's funny at certain parts, but it's kind of, first of all, it goes too far at certain parts, and it's not very good. It's okay. Like, that was as I'm watching the first, like, 1 through 6 episodes. But once you get to, like, episodes 7, 8, and 9, and 10, the show starts actually getting really good. I was kind of caught off guard because I was just watching it because it's kind of like a car accident. You can't look away. Like, it's so mind-boggling. Like, you can't look away from it. That's why I kept watching the show. But it got actually really good once you got to those later episodes in the season. Like, it started having a lot of deeper meanings and represent like real struggles that kids go through at that age, and representing real family problems. And I was like, wow, on the surface this is a raunchy, puberty, sex-driven show, but it has some heart and some depth to it. And I ended up actually really liking the season overall. I mean, they're not bad, but they don't stand out, and it just seems like a gimmick the first half of the season. But get through the first half and finish it, and then think about it. It's a really good representation of what I'm laughing because it's so crazy of a show, but I think it's a good representation of what younger kids go through going through puberty, and it reflects life in a way, and you end up kind of being attached to some of the characters by the end of the show. So if you do not mind raunchiness and dirty stuff, go check it out. But I warn you, have you seen Sausage Party? And you saw the end of Sausage Party? It goes further than Sausage Party does, in my opinion. So you've been warned. It is some of the dirtiest, raunchiest stuff you're ever going to see in your life. But if you don't mind that stuff, I recommend going and checking out Big Mouth. It's worth a watch for sure. Alright, so I only have a couple news topics to talk about today. There were a lot of things, but the stuff we already covered on Apocalypse Movies, like the New Mutants starting an X-Men horror trilogy. I already talked about that, so I'm not going to talk about it here. The Black Panther trailer, we did a trailer reaction, and I did an in-depth spoiler breakdown. Or not spoiler, but an in-depth breakdown of the Black Panther trailer. Go check those out on Apocalypse Movies. So I saved some of the other stuff that I haven't talked about yet for this show. First up, the Han Solo movie finally gets a title. We've been wondering what it's going to be called, and it's called Solo, a Star Wars Story. Okay. When I first heard it, I did not like it at all. I wanted to throw up. Like, I don't like it, and I think it's because of the Star Wars story part, because when they first changed Rogue One to Rogue One, a Star Wars story, look, in general, I don't like a Star Wars story part, but Rogue One, a Star Wars story, it kind of, comes off the tongue very well, in my opinion. I do prefer Star Wars Anthology Rogue One, or Star Wars Anthology Solo. That would be a lot better, in my opinion. But I was okay with Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It seemed like, a fairy tale or like a nursery rhyme. I don't know. And I loved Rogue One. But Solo, a Star Wars story, I don't have that same feeling. Like, I don't like it. I don't even like the Solo part that much. It's okay. It's growing on me a little bit. But Solo, it just seems cheesy to me. I don't know why. I just call it Han Solo. Han Solo, a Star Wars story. I think that sounds better. Cut off the Star Wars story part. Star Wars Anthology, Han Solo. That would be great. Alright, so I'm iffy on the Solo part. I don't like Solo, a Star Wars story. I think that as a complete title sounds dumb. But, whatever. The title really doesn't matter, honestly. Like, you can name the title of the movie whatever you want. The movie's not going to change in quality, whatever the name of the title is. If you haven't seen Ron Howard's little video, he tweeted out that they wrapped shooting or whatever, and then he revealed the title on there. So go check out Ron Howard's tweet. But yeah, overall, I don't know. I don't necessarily like this title that much. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I can't wait for this Han Solo movie. But the title is whatever. Next up, The Punisher got a new trailer yesterday from Netflix and Marvel. And with that trailer, they released the release date, which is November 17th, 2017. Same day as Justice League. That's interesting. I think it doesn't matter. I'm going to go see Justice League opening night and then binge watch Punisher that weekend. It's not going to hurt each other. I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of like, as us as fans, we're going to be like, oh my God, Justice League. And then, oh my God, Punisher. Like, it's really cool. But as you know, as some of you may know, at New York Comic Con a couple of weeks ago, Marvel canceled the Punisher panel because of the shootings in Las Vegas, and I totally understand that. I think they planned for Punisher to come out sooner. I think they planned for it to come out last week or this week, but because of the shootings in Las Vegas, and it makes sense because the Punisher is going to have heavy gun violence. So because of that, I think they pushed it to November 17th. Who knows? Maybe they always plan for November 17th. But I like this release date. Like I said, lucky me, I get to go watch Justice League and then on Friday and Saturday binge watch The Punisher. So we will definitely be reviewing The Punisher once it comes out. So because it technically connects to the MCU, it's a movie discussion, kind of a little loophole for us. So yeah, look out for that. All right, moving on to my books and comic book segment of today. It's going to be a short episode today. I'm going to make a point to make the episode shorter because I'm just starting off this show. I'm trying to build an audience for this show. And I understand our longer videos get less views. But this show is something that I'm doing for myself. And in order to get myself better at this. And I always wanted to do a longer version of a show. I wish I could do a daily morning movie news show. Like, that's the goal eventually. But as of right now, with my schedule, I don't do this full time. So right now I'm doing Fridays. I shoot this on Fridays. But I'm going to try to keep it short because I don't have my audience yet. I got to earn my audience. And then maybe I'll start doing longer episodes. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, so for my book segment, I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Phasma, the audiobook that came out on Force Friday the same day as Leia, Princess of Alderaan. And I started this book. I'm about 4 or 5 chapters in, and I really like it. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but already I've learned a lot about Phasma. I kind of know where she came from, what she's all about, what her reputation is, even before the First Order. So I think Phasma is a must read, unless you really don't care at all. But for me, I was excited about Phasma in The Force Awakens, going into The Force Awakens. She was a disappointment in The Force Awakens. Her comic book, the Phasma comic book, which is out right now, I like that, and it gives me a little bit of more insight into Phasma and what was going on in The Force Awakens. Also, already in the first 3 or 4 chapters, I like Phasma more, and I understand her in The Force Awakens, and I understand why she did what she did in The Force Awakens. So if that gives you any hint towards whether you want to read Phasma or not, I definitely recommend it. Because, I'm going to read all the Star Wars books no matter what. But even if you're on the fence, like deciding you only want to read a couple, if you're looking forward to The Last Jedi and you're looking forward to learning more about Phasma in that movie, I recommend picking up Star Wars Phasma. I think it's definitely worth checking out. So I got one comic book to talk about today. Been really busy on not reading as much, but I do fit it in when I can. And that is a Star Wars comic book, Darth Vader number 6. This Darth Vader run has been incredible. The first 1 through 5 issues were about him getting his first kyber crystal as a Sith and getting his red kyber crystal and getting his lightsaber. That was a great little story run right there. But little did we know that this was going to continue. And this issue was great. Now, this is not necessarily a spoiler because it's on the cover of the issue. You see the Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels, and now you learn a little bit of backstory on that Inquisitor, a little bit of backstory on the Inquisitors as a whole, and how they come to be, and how they operate within the Empire. That stuff is really cool. And you learn, of course, a little bit more about Vader and the Emperor, and how the Emperor is always testing Vader no matter what. In the original trilogy, he's testing Vader. You could even say in the prequels, he's testing Anakin. In the Lords of the Sith novel, he's testing Vader. He's always testing Vader, and it makes sense the way the Sith work, but it's crazy. Like, they always go back to that. And hey, I love it. It's Star Wars, but this issue is amazing. Pick up the trades for the 1 through 5. I'm pretty sure they put that out. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but it should be out. If not, try to find the 1 through 5s. Go to Comixology, read 1 through 5, the 2017 run. Amazing. And then pick up with 6. As a Star Wars fan, you can't ask for more. It's amazing. All right, so moving on to wrap up the show this week, my editorial segment. I'm trying to switch it up and do something different each week, you know. And for me, I'm going to give you my top 5 male actors of all time this week. And some of you might not care. You might not, who cares about your top 5? But for me, for movie pundits that I follow online, I'm always curious of, like, what are their top 10 movies of all time? Who are their favorite actors of all time? Who are their favorite female actors of all time? I'm always interested in that type of stuff. So as for someone who's pursuing becoming a movie pundit, I thought, hey, I might as well give some of my top lists on here. So I'm going to go 5 through 1, and before that, I'm going to give you some honorable mentions. So honorable mentions, some that almost made the list. One is Seth Rogen. I love Seth Rogen. Anytime Seth Rogen is involved in a project and it's coming out, I am so excited for it. Like, love Seth Rogen. And Seth Rogen reminds me of another name, which I don't know why I didn't put it down, but he's definitely in this, is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, ever since 10 Things I Hate About You, everything he's in, he's such a likable guy. He's in The Dark Knight Rises. He's in one of my favorite movies of all time, Don John, which he actually directed. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is definitely an honorable mention. Brad Pitt is an honorable mention. I've been watching Brad Pitt's career all my life. Legends of the Fall. I love Troy. A lot of people don't like Troy. And I don't even want to say it's a guilty movie pleasure. I love that movie Troy with Brad Pitt. He's a big reason why. Anything Brad Pitt's in, I'm automatically drawn to. Fury, amazing. Brad Pitt is definitely an honorable mention. And I kind of want to put him in there, but I had to break it down to 5. Will Smith is another honorable mention. Love Will Smith, just like Brad Pitt. Been watching him my whole entire life. I've watched so many episodes of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when I was a kid. Will Smith has so much charisma. Look at Suicide Squad. Like, without Deadshot and Harley Quinn in that movie would have been unwatchable, and he made it watchable to me. Him and Margot Robbie and some of the other characters. Will Smith is definitely in there. If I made a top 10 list, those guys I just mentioned would be in there. Maybe even throw Tom Cruise a little honorable mention. All right, so getting to the list. Number 5 is Ewan McGregor. Now, this does have a lot to do with Star Wars, because I love Star Wars, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite character in Star Wars, and that has a lot to do with Ewan McGregor in the prequels. And, you know, watching the Star Wars original trilogy as a kid, you know, I loved Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan, but he wasn't my favorite character until the prequels. And now, watching the prequels, and because of Ewan McGregor making me love Obi-Wan, now I appreciate Alec Guinness even more as Obi-Wan. So just that character and what Ewan McGregor has brought to it, and hopefully brings to it again with an Obi-Wan movie, hopefully coming soon. Ewan McGregor, but it's not just Star Wars. Have you seen that movie Big Fish? He's great in Big Fish. Moulin Rouge. Oh my God. Moulin Rouge might have elevated Ewan McGregor past those other guys I put in my honorable mentions list, because I was debating between Will Smith, Brad Pitt, and Ewan McGregor in that 5 spot. And then I remembered I watched Moulin Rouge for the first time this year, and it is incredible. I'm not a big musical fan, but Moulin Rouge is incredible. Ewan McGregor is a big reason why. So considering Star Wars, his other movies, definitely because of Moulin Rouge, I put Ewan McGregor in that number 5 spot. Number 4 favorite actor of all time, Hugh Jackman. Come on now. Of course, as Wolverine, Logan. Logan is my favorite movie of the year. I still think it's the best movie of the year. I think Hugh Jackman should be nominated for Best Actor. It's not just because of that. It's because of his legacy as Wolverine. But it's also due to the other things he's done in his career. He's so diverse. He can do everything. Les Miserables, whatever it's called, the musical. Of course, he's great in that. He was nominated for Best Actor. He's an Oscar-worthy actor. I think once he just stopped. This was supposedly his last time as Logan, as Wolverine. So I think now that he's done with that, he's going to be going for that gold, going for that Oscar. And I think that is a possibility with The Greatest Showman, which comes out later this year. Can't wait for that movie. It has freaking Zac Efron and Zoe Saldana. Or not Zoe Saldana, the girl who plays MJ in Spider-Man Homecoming. I forget her name. But yeah, Hugh Jackman, definitely, mostly because of the Wolverine, but all the other things he's done too. Number 4 spot. Number 3 favorite actor of all time is Jack Nicholson. He's a classic actor, one of the best ever. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of my favorite films of all time. One of the greatest performances of all time, in my opinion. I think he won his first Oscar for that. He's won multiple Oscars. The Departed is a great movie, and a lot of people think he's over the top in Departed, and I guess you could say that, but I thought it worked, and he was getting asked to do that by Martin Scorsese, I'm assuming. So just overall as a career, The Shining, man, I wish Jack was still acting today, man, because he's amazing. He's definitely, I almost put him in the number 2 spot, but you can't take over my dude, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is my number 2 actor of all time. I talked about him a little bit a couple episodes ago when I talked about his upcoming TV show that's coming out soon. But Jim Carrey, just like Will Smith and Brad Pitt, been watching Jim Carrey my whole entire life. Of course, all the classic comedies, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, The Cable Guy, The Mask. I watched The Mask so much as a kid. So many iconic roles. Dumb and Dumber is one of my favorite comedies. It's my favorite like slapstick comedy of all time is Dumb and Dumber. I can't tell you how many times I watched that movie as a kid. But it's not just because of his comedic stuff. Watch Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Jim Carrey is incredible in that movie. That movie's incredible. The Truman Show, it's not a comedy. That movie's dark, and it has comedic elements, but it's dark, and he's great in that. I even like him in Kick-Ass 2. He's no Big Daddy. He's no Nicolas Cage in Kick-Ass from Kick-Ass 1, but I thought he was good in Kick-Ass 2, a little fun role. But Jim Carrey is one of these guys, like, I don't know what it is. I just gravitate towards him. He's such a phenomenal actor, comedically and dramatically, in my opinion, and he's my number 2 favorite actor of all time. My number 1 favorite actor of all time, everybody knows this. Everybody on Apocalypse Movies knows this. If you've been watching us for any short time, you probably know this. I mention it all the time. It's Leonardo DiCaprio, of course. What can you say? He was one of the top 5 actors working 10 years ago. He's one of the top 2 or 3 actors working today, in my opinion. Maybe with Daniel Day-Lewis retiring, it's tough, but I would probably if Daniel Day-Lewis is out of the picture, I would argue that Leo is the best actor working today. It comes down to a couple names, but he's just been so iconic for so long, and it all started from Titanic. My mom, when I was younger, my mom was a stay-at-home mom a lot, and she would watch movies relentlessly, just all the time. And what am I doing there? Sitting there watching the movie too. We probably watched Titanic like 100 times at least when I was a kid. And that was the start of it. And then like Basketball Diaries, he's just so dedicated to his craft, and I really respect that. Not that these other guys aren't, they are, but he is so locked in. Like, he's so crazy good, and he just won his first Oscar for The Revenant. Congratulations. I don't even think he should have won that year. Look, I love Leo, obviously, but I think Michael Fassbender should have won the Oscar that year for Steve Jobs. I don't think The Revenant is Leo's best role. Not by far, not. He was a lot better in The Wolf of Wall Street to me. He's been a lot better in other films. But the fact that if he stopped acting today, he would still be considered one of the best of all time. He has another 20 years at least to continue acting. Think about that. He's going to be one of the greats. And he already is, but he's going to be one of the greats. And I just think brings the most, I don't know what to call it, but the most, like, he just has that swagger when he's on screen, and like, you can't deny that he's giving it 120% when he's on screen. So that's why I love Leo. Been watching him my whole life. Phenomenal actor. All right, well, that's going to wrap up the Bartley broadcast this week. Maybe next week, because I did that, I'll do my top 5 male actor or female actors of all time. I'll probably go ahead and do that now, because why not do it back to back? I haven't talked about that before. A while ago, we did our top 5 female actors working at the time. We did like a podcast about that, but I've never talked about my top female actors of all time. So that'll be my editorial segment next week. All right, thank you all for watching the Bartley broadcast this week. I am, of course, Jacob Bartley. You can find me on Twitter at JacobBartley_. Please subscribe to Apocalypse Movies if you like all things film, especially Star Wars and superhero stuff. We talk a lot about that stuff. And we talk about everything, though. We talk about dramas, Oscar season. Cannot wait for Oscar season. I mean, it's already here. Movies are coming out already. But, when we're in the thick of Oscar season, it might be my favorite time for movies, all year. So look out. We'll be reviewing as many Oscar films as we can, whether it's performance or Best Picture, worthy films. And find us on iTunes. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Download our episodes on there. Download our reviews on there. We would really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. Until next time.